Write one fat cow, not a skinny cow, oh, a cow with meat that can feed the whole village. Another added, add 10 goats, 5 must be she goats, and don't forget 50 tuber of yam. Another shouted, 2 big bag of rice and 5 crates of beer. Someone else said, add wrappers, 6 wrappers of George, and shoes for the mother. Finally, Adama's father spoke. Add roofing sheets. My house is old. If Obina wants to marry my daughter, he must put a new zinc roof. When they finished, the list was so long it looked like a market record. They laughed and said, if he truly loved her, he will bring all these things. The sun was bright and the red sand of Umoka village shone like fire. Birds sang on tall trees and goats ran across the dusty road. Women carried clay pots on their heads, their wrapper tied tight across their waists. Men came from the farm with holes on their shoulders, sweat shining on their foreheads. Children played with empty tins, rolling them as if they were cars. Umuoka was a village full of laughter. In the evening, when the moon rose, people sat outside their huts. The old told stories and the young clapped their hands, and the air was sweet with the smell of roasted yam. But even with all the beauty, Umuoka had a secret pain. The pain came from the elders. They were the ruler of the land. They sat under the big Iroko tree every evening, holding long walking sticks. Their heads were bowed, their eyes sharp, and their mouths always chewing kola nuts. People feared them because their words were like fire. No one dared to speak when they talked. They made every law. They judged every case. They decided when festivals would start and when they would end. At first, the elders were respected. Long ago, they protected the people and taught the young the way of the ancestors. But things had changed. Now their hearts were no longer clean. Greed had eaten them like termites eat woods. The greed showed most when it comes to marriage. In Umoka, when a young man wanted to marry a young woman, he had to go to her father with a list of gifts. It was called Imego, the bride price. In the past, it was simple, just a few kola nuts, some bottle of palm wine, and maybe a small goat to show respect. Everyone was happy. But the elders had turned the custom into something heavy. They made the list so long that even rich men cried when they saw them. A cow, 10 fat goats, 50 tuber of yam, wrapper from the market, crates of beer, bottles of gin, money for the father, money for the mother, money for the uncles, and even money for the elders themselves. Sometimes they even demanded that the groom must build a house for the bride's father. It was too much. Many young men in the village could not marry. They loved, but their love died because they could not pay. Many young women sat in their father's house, growing old, waiting and waiting and waiting. The elders did not care. They said, if you cannot marry, then you are not man enough. One evening, as the sun hung around and full, a group of youths gathered near the stream. They were angry. One man said, I wanted to marry last year, but they asked me to buy a cow. Where will I see money to buy cow? Another shouted, they told me to roof her father's house with zinc. Am I a carpenter? Laughter broke out, but it was bitter laughter. They knew their pain was real. The girls spoke. One girl said, I am 28, but no man has come again. They all ran away after seeing the list. Tears fell from her eyes. From far away, the sound of the elders' laughter floated in the night. They were drinking palm wine under the Iroko tree, their bellies full, their eyes shining. They did not know or did not care about the sorrow they had planted in the hearts of the young. Among the youth at the stream was a young man named Obina. His skin was dark like ripe palm fruit, and his shoulders were strong from climbing palm trees every day. He was poor, but he was not lazy. He worked hard, tapping palm wine, carrying the sweet white liquid in big calabashes to sell in the market. Everyone liked him because he was humble and kind. Obina listened quietly as others complained. He said nothing, but his heart was heavy. He was in love. He loved Adama, the most beautiful girl in the village. Her skin was smooth, her eyes shone like stars, and her laughter was like music. Whenever she carried water from the stream, men stared until their mouths fell open. But Adama never looked at them. Her heart belonged to Obina. That night, as Obina walked home, he looked up at the moon. He whispered, "Will I ever marry Adama? Or will the elders scatter our love too?" The night gave him no answer. Only the sound of cricket filled the air. Far away, under the Iroko tree, the elders were planning again. One elder, his teeth red with cola, said, "Tomorrow we must make the bright list even heavier. These young men must respect us. If they suffer, let them suffer. It makes us great." The others clapped their hands in agreement. The fire burned bright before them, but in the shadows of the night, the future of many young lovers grew darker. The morning sun rose slowly over Umuoka. The air smelled of burning firewood. Women pounded yam in big mortars, their pistols rising and falling with a heavy sound. Men prepared to go to their farms, carrying hoes and cutlass on their shoulders. Children ran about, chasing each other, their bare feet raising dust. But not far away, under the great Iroko tree, the elders of Umaka were already sitting. They sat in a circle, each with his walking stick beside him. In the middle was a wooden tray filled with kola nuts and bottles of palm wine. Their voices rumbled like thunder as they spoke. The head elder, Okonkwo, cleared his throat. His voice was deep and proud. "My brothers, we must protect our tradition. These young men of today are lazy. They want to marry without showing respect. They want wives without sacrifice. It cannot be." Another elders, Obiefi, nodded, chewing his kola nut slowly. "Yes, our fathers did not give out their daughters cheaply. A woman is wealth. If a man wants her, let him prove he is a man." They clapped their hands in agreement. The palm wine flowed. They laughed loudly, their big bellies shaking. But what they called tradition was no longer the old way. Long ago, a groom bought simple gifts to show honor: kola nut, palm wine, and a few tuber of yam. Now the elders has twisted it. They wanted riches. That same day, in the compound of Adama's father, the family gathered. Adama's uncle sat on a wooden stool. Her father sat in the middle, his face serious. They were writing the bride price list for Obina, who had asked for Adama's hand. One uncle said, "Write one fat cow, not a skinny cow, oh, a cow with meat that can feed the whole village." Another added, "Add 10 goats, 5 must be she goats, and don't forget 50 tuber of yam." Another shouted, "2 big bag of rice and 5 crates of beer." Someone else said, "Add wrappers, 6 wrappers of George, and shoes for the mother." Finally, Adama's father spoke, "Add roofing sheets. My house is old. If Obina wants to marry my daughter, he must put a new zinc roof." When they finished, the list was so long it looked like a market record. They laughed and said, "If he truly loved her, he would bring all these things." Word spread quickly through the village. People whispered about the list. Some laughed, some shook their head. At the palm wine joint, young men gathered to drink. One man slapped his thigh and said, "Did you hear what they asked Obina? A whole cow." "I have never even touched a cow in my life." Everyone laughed. Another said, "Zinc roof. So, to marry, you must also be a builder now." They laughed again, but it was a bitter laughter. In her father's compound, Adama sat quietly. Her friend teased her. One said, "Your bride price list is so long that even a king cannot pay." Another said, "By the time Obina finishes, you will be an old woman." They laughed, but Adama did not laugh. She knew Obina's struggle. She knew he worked every day climbing palm trees, risking his life, yet earning little money. That night, she met Obina secretly under the Udala tree. The moonlight covered them like a blanket. Adama's eyes were wet. "Did you see the list?" she asked softly. Obina nodded. His voice was low. "I saw it. My heart is heavy. Where will I find a cow? Where will I find money to roof a house?" But Adama, listen to me. I love you. Even if the list is as tall as the Iroko tree, I will not give up. Adama's heart melted. She touched his hand. Obina, I believe you. I will wait for you, no matter how long. I will not marry another man. Above them, the moon shone bright as if it was also listening. But far away, in the elders' meeting, more lists were being written, more demands were being added for other young men. The next morning, in the market square, people gossiped. One woman shouted, "The elders are turning marriage into war. Who will win such a war?" Another woman replied, "They are greedy, but one day their greed will destroy them." But the elders were not worried. They sat proudly under the iroko tree, drinking palm wine. Their voices loud. "We are the keepers of tradition," they said. "Let the young ones suffer. That is the way of life." The sound of their laughter echoed across the village. But in many homes, young hearts cried in silence. Love was dying, slowly, because of the weight of bride price. Obina woke early every morning. Before the cock crowed, he was already climbing the tall palm trees. With the sharp knives, he cut the raffia stems and collected the sweet white palm wine into his calabash. Sometimes the tree shook under his feet, but he never feared. He was strong and brave. When he came down, his body shone with sweat, but his heart was happy. Obina was poor, but he was never lazy. He carried the calabash of palm wine on his head and walked to the market. People loved his wine. Women bought it for their husband. Men drank it to refresh after farm work. The money was small, but it was honest. In the same village lived Adama. She was the daughter of a proud farmer. Her beauty was known in every corner of Umuoka. Her skin glowed like morning sun. Her eyes shone like stars. Her laughter was like the ringing of a bell. When she walked to the stream, men stopped talking. When she smiled, hearts melted. But Adama was not proud. She was gentle, humble, and kind. She helped her mother in the farm. She fetched water with her clay pot. She pounded yam with her sister. Yet, her heart belonged to only one man, Obina. The two met often at the stream. At first, it was just greeting. Obina would say, "Adama, good morning." She would smile and reply, "Good morning, Obina." Soon, the greeting became longer. They walked home together, laughing at little jokes. Their hearts grew close, like yam tendrils twining around a stake. One evening, under the udala tree, Obina gathered courage. The moon was bright, and the air smelled of ripe fruit. He looked at her and said, "Adama, I love you. From the day I saw you, my heart has not rested. I dream of you every night. I want you to be my wife." Adama's cheek turned red. She lowered her eyes. Then she lifted them again. "Obina, my heart is yours too. When I hear your voice, I feel peace. I will be your wife. I will wait for you no matter what." They smiled and silence fell between them. The only sound was the night cricket. In the silence, their love was sealed. From then, their love grew stronger. Whenever Obina sold palm wine in the market, Adama would buy some, even if her father did not need it. Whenever she fetched water, Obina would carry her pot for her. Their friends teased them, calling them husband and wife, but they did not mind. Their hearts were happy. But their joy was not hidden from the elders. One day, as they sat under the Iroko tree, one elder, Obeefi, pointed with his stick. "Have you seen that palm wine boy? He is always following Adama like a fly follows palm oil. He thinks he can marry her." Another elder laughed, spitting kola nut juice. "Let him try. When he sees the list, he will run like antelope." They laughed loudly, their voice deep. To them, love meant nothing, only wealth mattered. Obina was not blind. He knew the elders' eyes were on him. He knew their lips were like mountains, but his love was stronger than fear. He said to himself, "I will face whatever comes. I will not let them scatter my love for Adama." One day, as the sun was setting, Obina and Adama met again at the stream. The water was calm and the frogs croaked. Adama's face was sad. She said softly, "Obina, my father and uncles are already talking about the bride price. I heard them say it will be long." Obina touched her hand gently. "Do not fear, Adama. I am a man. I will walk. I will sweat. And if it takes my whole life, I will marry you." Her eyes filled with tears, but they were tears of love. She believed him. She trusted him. That night, Obina could not sleep. He lay on his bamboo bed, staring at the roof. The words of Adama's father echoed in his ears. The list will be long. He clenched his feet and whispered, "No matter what, I will fight for my love." Far away, the elders sat drinking palm wine, their laughter filling the night. They thought they were untouchable, but under the moon, two young hearts were ready to challenge their greed. The air was thick with smell of roasted corn, but in the compound of Adama's father, the elders and family members were not laughing. They were busy writing. Obina had come with his kinsmen. He came with his uncle, who was old and knew the marriage custom. They brought kola nut, palm wine, and little money for greeting. It was the first step of marriage, knocking on the door, Ikwa aka n'ụzọ. Obina's heart beat fast, but he smiled. He believed this was the day his journey to marry Adama would truly begin. The men sat on wooden stools. Women sat in the background, whispering and peeping. Adama stayed inside, her heart racing, her ears sharpening to hear what was happening. Obina's uncle stood up and spoke with respect. "We are here because our son Obina has seen a flower in your compound. He does not want to plug it by force. He has come to beg with kola nut and palm wine, so that your daughter Adama may follow him as his wife." There was clapping, laughter, and shouting of Ise. Adama's father smiled slowly. He picked up the kola nut, blessed it, and shared it. Everyone chewed, their lips red with kola nut. Palm wine was poured, and the elders drank. Then came the moment of truth. One uncle of Adama cleared his throat. His voice was loud and proud. "We welcome you. But our daughter is not cheap. If your son wants her, he must prove he is a man. Here is the list." He brought out a long paper. It was folded like the tail of a lizard. He opened it slowly. The sound of the paper crackled like dry leaves. The eyes of the visitor widened. The list looked endless. The uncle began to read. One fat cow, 10 goats, 5 she-goats and 5 he-goats, 50 tuber of yam, 2 bag of rice, 5 crates of beer, 2 bottle of hot gin, 6 wrapper of George, 2 pair of fine shoe, a box filled with clothes for the bride, money for the father, money for the mother, money for the uncles, money for the elders, roofing sheets for the father's house. When he finished, there was silence. Even the bird that always sang in the tree seemed to stop. Obina's uncle coughed. He tried to smile, but the smile broke on his lip. "This list is long," he said slowly. "Are we here to marry a wife or to buy a whole village?" Everyone laughed loudly, except Obina. His heart sank. His eyes were heavy. He thought of his little calabash of palm wine. He thought of his empty pocket. He thought of the zinc roof that alone cost more than all he had saved in his life. But the elders were not moved. One of them, Ogbuefi, spoke with pride. "If Obina truly loves Adama, he will bring all these things. If not, let him go and leave her for men of wealth." In the women's corner, some shook their head in pity. Others giggled. One whispered, "The marriage will not happen. Poor palm wine tapper cannot climb such a mountain." Inside the hut, Adama pressed her hand on her chest. Her heart pounded. Tears filled her eyes. She whispered to herself, "Obina will not give up. He loves me." Back outside, Obina forced a smile. He stood up and bowed. His voice was firm, though his heart was bleeding. "I have heard the list. I will not run. I will walk. I will sweat. I will find a way, because Adama is worth more than all the gold in the world." Some men in the crowd clapped for him. "Obina, Lionheart," they shouted. But the elders only laughed among themselves. They thought, "He will fail. He will run away like the others." As the meeting ended, Obina walked out with slow step. He looked at the sky, and it was dark, though the sun was still shining. The list was heavy on his shoulder like a bag of stone. But deep in his heart, a small fire burned. It was the fire of love. It whispered, "Do not give up." Obina could not sleep that night. He lay on his bamboo bed, staring at the dark roof of his hut. The list of bride price was in his mind. The cows, the goats, the yams, the beer, the wrapper, the zinc roof, each item was like a heavy stone pressing his chest. He whispered to himself, where will I find these things? Even if I sell all my palm wine for 10 years, I will not buy one cow. The cock crowed, but Obina was already awake. He tied his rope around his waist and went to the palm trees. He climbed fast, cutting raffia, collecting the sweet wine. But even as he walked, his mind was not on the trees. His mind was on Adama. At the market, he poured the wine into calabashes and called out, fresh palm wine, sweet palm wine. People bought, and he smiled. But inside, his smile was broken. Some men teased him. Obinna, you want to marry Adama, eh? Have you bought the cow yet? They laughed loudly. Another said, don't forget to roof her father's house, so you must become a carpenter first. The crowd roared with laughter. Obinna forced a small smile, but he turned away. His eyes were heavy. When he got home, hunger greeted him. He opened the small wooden box where he kept his savings. It was not much, just few coins and small notes. He counted them again and again, as if they would increase, but the money looked back at him and mocked him. The next week, he tried to save more. He worked extra hours, climbing more trees. He carried heavy calabashes to the next village to sell. His hands had blisters. His feet were sore. But he said to himself, this is for Adama. This is for love. Then tragedy came. One evening, after selling palm wine, Obina put his small Eni in his box. He hid the box under the bed. The next morning he woke up and opened it, and the money was gone. His heart stopped. He searched under the bed, inside his clothes, even under the mat. Nothing. Someone had stolen it in the night. He sat on the floor, his hands on his head. His chest felt like fire. All my sweat, all my suffering, gone. That evening, he walked through the village, people gossiping. Obina is finished, they whispered. Even his small savings is gone. How will he ever marry Adama? At the palm wine joint, some men laughed. He cannot even keep his small savings. How will he buy a cow? They drank and slapped their thighs in mockery. Obina had. He walked past silently. His pride was wounded, but his love was still alive. At night he met Adama again under the Udala tree. The moon was faint, hiding behind clouds. His voice shook as he told her what had happened. They stole my money. I don't know who. Adama, sometimes I feel I should give up. Her eyes filled with tears. She touched his hand gently. No, Obina, don't give up. Even if the whole world laugh at you, I will not. My heart is yours. The elders may demand the sky, but love will give us wings. Obina looked at her and felt new strength. But deep inside, he also knew love alone could not buy cows, goats, yam, zinc roof. He needed a miracle. And in the shadows of the night, the elders sat under the Iroko tree, drinking palm wine again. Their laughter carried on the wind. They thought they were wise, but they were blind to the tears they caused.